Beautiful shit, you know what I'm saying? Like, this some social shit for everyone, you know what I'm saying? Like, I made this be myself, so hear me. I mean, like, we can pull that clown shit away. This some real shit for you. I'm spazzing right now, so listen, let's go. Yeah, it's in their bones, the thugs in harmony for the love of the money. Then fall victim for the cookie, then turn pussy, it's lonely. You said you hold it down when life get rough, we're here now, so show me. We move them losses to them wins. Heavy pounds, we make it ends meet. Converse with only few who make me feel like I be 10 feet.
Yo, we feel like I be 10 feet. Big up people in the damn building. Yo, we're live, man. No, technically we're not live. This is just a recorded video. But just make everybody feel like we're live. I'm going to say we are live in the building, guys. Make sure you're smashing the like button, you're sharing, you're subscribing, you're doing all of that good stuff. Guys, you know why we are here. Another striker. He's been linked to a lot of clubs, I'll be honest with you. Linked to Newcastle. He's been linked to Chelsea. He's been linked with Liverpool. He's been linked with Arsenal. He's been linked with a whole host of clubs around Europe, man. And that is Frankfurt's Hugo Ekitike. I had to find out. I was like, where is this brother from? Where is this guy from? He's got that African kind of build. And of course, he's Cameroonian, you know, from his father. I think it's usually the father anyway, to be fair. So I don't know why I was even surprised. But listen, seems like a good striker. Decided to watch a few of his games, went to watch a few of the highlights and stuff like that, just to, you know, player cams to just watch, you know, to see the kind of vibe. Why is everybody, not everybody, but people talk about him quite a bit. And I was wondering, I was like, is this guy really good? You know, some players coincidentally, you just catch them on a good day. Like for some weird reason, I used to always catch like Marmoush as an example. Now, I mean, obviously he's proven slightly to be kind of a decent player, right? But I used to always catch him on a good day. Mwani, and obviously I'm talking about Frankfurt players. Mwani, I used to always catch Bundesliga randomly, you know, when he was playing for Frankfurt, always catch him, and he was always bagging goals. So I thought, right, when he made that move to PSG and that, I thought to myself, okay. Yeah, like he's gonna really, you know, light it up, but he didn't really do that. And then the biggest one I'd probably say is Jovic. Jovic was the one that, I mean, I saw him in that run, I think, when they got to, is it the Europa League final, I want to say? And I thought to myself, nah, but he looks all right, though. So when he made that move to Real Madrid, I was thinking, you know, at that time as well, I was thinking, yo, like, this is a good move, you know, and Real Madrid are smart to maybe get someone like him in. Yeah, that brother wasn't really on nothing. Do you know what I mean? Like, well, it proved later on anyway to not really be, you know, on much. And I don't know, man, Frankfurt a little bit cursed when it comes to their strikers, man. Once their strikers leave for some weird reason, I mean, Kolo Muani's doing all right now for Juventus, but he's had to obviously go there on loan and all of that kind of stuff. Jovic, I don't even know where that brother is right about now. And obviously now we've got Marmoush, obviously in the Premier League, and maybe Ekitike could be another player who could come to, you know, the Premier League, man. But obviously, of course, this is kind of one of the reasons, and I know obviously everyone's doing recency bias, and I guess I kind of understand it. But this season, listen, look, been on fire, 17 goals, 6 assists in 32 games. Obviously, playing alongside Marmoush as well has obviously helped Frankfurt. You know, him and Marmoush, like, I felt like that was like a good combination. Do you know what I mean? But even, you know, when he was at PSG, I mean, technically he's got a league title to his name. Obviously, when he was at PSG, couldn't really get game time over there, if I'm being honest with you. Played 32 times, got himself 4 goals and 4 assists. But even when he was at PSG, I remember thinking, but this guy looks all right, though. Do you know what I mean? Obviously, PSG is a bit of a weird one, especially at that time. I'm sure 22, 23, was Messi not still there? 22, 23, 23, 24, 24, 25. Yeah, I'm sure Messi and that was still there. So that was, and he was obviously still kind of like, you know, he'd moved over, obviously, from Stade Reims in Ligue 1. And I thought, okay, yeah. Maybe I butchered that name. Apologies if I did. But yeah, I thought, okay, when he moved obviously from there, he's a young player. Let's just see kind of what he's about. Obviously did all right there as well. You know what I mean? In the 21-22 season, 27 games, 11 goals, 5 assists. And that's kind of his theme, if I'm being totally honest with you. He is a player who does like to facilitate. I would say style of play. There's been a lot of comparisons to Isak. There has been. I can understand why. They're both tall, lanky kind of guys, and they're quite unorthodox in the way that they play. In terms of they're both neat dribblers on the ball. They seem very comfortable taking the ball down and going for a dribble. They like to float out to that left wing, sometimes to the right wing, drop in a little bit deep. So I can see a few similarities within that. He's got Ekitike's got good hold up play as well. Yeah, I'll just say good hold up play, enough. But I think it's actually his control, his ball control. I think that's what probably, because you don't really see it too much with strikers. You'll see with wingers. Obviously, wingers have to be good on the ball, but with strikers, they're usually just like they're not really dribbling much. You know what I mean? Because you're more in the penalty box, or you're just dropping deep to just lay it off for someone else, and then you're going on your run. So you don't see maybe too much dribbling. Maybe more strikers, that we take a look at are going to be known. I'm probably going to be saying like, oh yeah, you know what? He's a good dribbler. He's a good dribbler. He's a good dribbler. Because it seems like that's kind of like the theme, when we're talking, about these kind of players. And yeah, I feel like they've obviously the likeness to Isak. I get it. But then Isak's obviously got a likeness to Thierry Henry. I like to look at him more like a David Trezeguet. Old school guys will remember him, of course. Bad boy striker, absolute bad boy. But he kind of reminds me a bit like of him, where he's very unorthodox with, I don't know, like Henry I felt was a bit more silky. Isak I feel is maybe a bit more silky as well. I just feel like he can be at times. I'm not saying he hasn't got it in him. Of course, I don't want people to get mad, but it's more when I look at him, I'm like, yeah, you know what? He's a bit more unorthodox. And like I said, he's a good facilitator. You know what I mean? He's got good movements as well, in and around the box. He likes to obviously run in behind, but again, he can drop deep if he needs to, or drop wide. Yeah, for me, he's a somewhat decent player. Like watching him, I thought, yeah, you know what? I can understand. And I think even Newcastle potentially were looking to sign him, I'm sure, before. I don't know if this was before Isak. Yeah, I think this was maybe even just before they signed in Isak, but maybe the price and things like that, it just kind of deterred them and thought, maybe not right now. Do you know what I mean? Maybe not right now. But like I say, he had anyway with Marmoush really good link up play. And that was one of the reasons why, Frankfurt were doing well, previously, kind of thing. And yeah, I think when I'm watching him, I'm like, obviously he's going to stay, obviously, of course, until the end of the season. I'm very intrigued to see what he does moving forward. If I'm being totally honest with you, like, is he someone who's going to make that big jump, to a bigger team? Is he just going to sign a new deal? Obviously, when I looked at the stats and stuff like that, this is obviously on F-Brief or FBREF, whatever you want to call it. His stats are pretty decent. He takes 3.87 shots per game. He gets 1.51 shots on target, per game. This is amongst all strikers in the top 5 leagues, in Europe. Passing ability as well. He has that quite in abundance, if I'm being totally honest with you. He isn't someone who isn't going to touch, well, in the system that Frankfurt play anyway. And again, that's why sometimes I look at these things and I think, oh, okay, in this system, he looks good. For example, if you went to like a Man City, as an example, he's not going to go there, but if you went to a City, he might not even touch the ball like that. You know what I mean? All of these passes completed might be from 17.57, which is pretty decent for a striker, to all of a sudden now, I don't know, he's only completing 8 to 10, 8 to 12 at best. Do you know what I mean? So again, system obviously over there at Frankfurt is working, in his favor. But like I said, like, he seems to be that in the mold of the strikers that people want these days, which is that all-round kind of individual. And I think even defensively, he makes a decent amount of tackles, obviously 0.30, in the attacking third, 0.95 in overall, which puts him obviously in the 82nd percentile. He wins 0.62 of those, 84th percentile. Percent of tacklers, dribbles, interceptions he makes per game, 0.43. Again, is that more to do with the style, or is that just him? Is it because of what the manager's asking them to do at Frankfurt? So again, the reason why I'm saying all of this is because there's a lot of strikers and there's a lot of wingers, players, defenders, whatever. Sometimes we always think, okay, if he's doing that there, if he came here, if you're not playing a similar way to that said manager, hence the reason why this player is obviously doing so well, are you going to get the same kind of player? And I think that's what I look at when I think about players like this. If he's a player who you can see their touches in attacking third, 20.68 is what he's getting per 90 minutes. If you are a team who get balls into the striker quite a bit, this guy, you can see, okay, he is the guy, you know, for that. If you're a team who need a striker who needs to carry the ball quite a bit, he does it 23.63 times per 90 minutes. And you can see the distances that he's obviously traveling, carries into the final third, 1.93. So clearly someone who likes to drop deep, drop wide to pick up the ball and then carry it. Is that something that your team needs? If so, he looks like quite an ideal striker in my personal opinion. And he seems like he would potentially fit that mold. If not, then I don't feel like he'd be, you know, someone that you'd necessarily need. So this is why sometimes nowadays I'm trying to like look at the stats and think, okay, what does this team need or that team need? And as I mentioned before, obviously the Chelsea's, Newcastle's, Liverpool's, and all these other host of teams obviously looking at him. I'm sure he's being monitored by a host of clubs, you know, in and around Europe. And of course, if he has a really strong end to the season, then yeah, I mean, there's going to be a few conversations, you know, put in, you know, about someone like Ekitike. But I think, listen, I think he's a decent player. He's got a good record, obviously, of course, this season. And he seems to be someone who can find the back of the net. As I mentioned before, being someone who is quite unorthodox, you know, he can be a threat in the box as well, obviously, just due to his height. We saw his goal that he scored the other day. And whether he meant it or not, I don't know. Like, I'm not gonna argue that point. But again, I'm just looking at him and he's just another striker out there. And I'm thinking, okay, this could be one of those strikers that, depending on the fee, and this is another thing that comes into everyone's thinking, is depending on the fee, is he going to be worth it in your eyes? Of course, obviously it's not our money, but in your eyes, do you think someone like, you know, Ekitike is worth the fee? Don't know what that fee is going to look like in the summer. I'm assuming 40, 50, 60, maybe. I mean, I think they paid around 30 odd. So what? What's that? Double that potentially. So yeah, is he going to cost a pretty penny? Is he worth that? At the end of the day, how many good strikers are even around at this moment in time? He's still young as well. You know, let me even check how old he actually is. 22 years of age. So 22 years of age, he's still, you know what I mean? He's still got a bit of development to kind of go. You know, is he the type of striker that you feel that your club could do with next season? There are a lot of teams who want strikers. Man United need a striker to save their lives. Chelsea fans want a striker. Arsenal, they've been dying for a striker. Liverpool fans, we're dying for a striker, a better striker anyway. Could he be that kind of box threat that we kind of need, you know, for a team like Liverpool? Could he be that good link-up player for a team like Chelsea? Could he be that player who can combine playing out on moving out to the left and then obviously playing through those central areas and providing a threat, you know, when Arsenal are playing their beautiful football? You know, Newcastle as well. Could he be like there if Isak was to go? I mean, if Isak was to leave, I feel like he'd be a very good replacement, you know, for them. If I'm being totally honest with you, I feel like that's more like you get someone like him, because if you can get someone who's quite similar to what you already had, I feel like it's then a bit more seamless rather than getting a completely different profile. And all of a sudden now the team's kind of got to get used to. I feel like he'd be, you know, a pretty decent target for them. So I'm intrigued. I'm intrigued to see, you know, what his next movements are. Let me know your thoughts, of course, in the comment section about the young striker. Would you like him at your club? If so, tell me why. Peace.